Well, my name is Juliette Nielsen, and I have a lighting design company together with Sjoerd van Beers. We started the company 7 years ago, but we've been working together already for 12 years. We have 7 lighting designers in our office. 4 of them are women, 3 are men. So we are outnumbering the guys. I studied interior design at the Arts Academy in Rotterdam. And there was a teacher there, Rogier van der Heijden, who was teaching us lighting design. I really loved that subject because it was something amazing. It's like you can't touch it, you don't have samples of light. But when light's in a space, it really can change the space. And I thought it was so magical that at the end I got an opportunity to do a traineeship at his company. And afterwards I started working at his company. So that is the way I learned about lighting, because in the Netherlands there isn't really good education in lighting, and certainly not in those days, the 90s, which was like the moment where I think most people came out of theatre design and then made this jump into architectural lighting. So it was for me like this kind of pioneers field. Really getting into lighting, and I loved the magical part of it, that it has so much influence on space. Well, actually our company works on all types of projects. So it can be for a municipality, it can be for a retailer, entrepreneur, museums, actually anything. And I think that's the very nice thing about this work, that because we have so many different kinds of clients, every process is completely unique and makes it very interesting each time. Also, you learn so much of every kind of client you're working for, because the emphasis on what they need is quite different. What is very, I think, key for the way we work is that we do a lot of testing. So we don't just sit behind our computers or behind a paper and do the lighting. If you look at our office, you can see that it's full of fixtures, cables, stuff, just to be able to see the light. And I think it's important also to show your clients the light, because it's such an abstract medium that you really need to show them how it works. I think our role as a lighting designer is important because often we see that lighting design in general is done by installers, for example, and the way they approach a project is a lot with guidelines, and guidelines say something about lux levels and about uniformity of light, but it says nothing about people and how people feel or how they enjoy a space. And we think this is super important. I mean, in the end, you're making designs for people. So, I mean, we don't really care about the guidelines. Of course, you should be able to see and find your way, but it doesn't mean you have to have this amount of lux on the floor. It could also be on the ceiling or somewhere else. So, for us, the role of lighting design is really important to educate and to show other opportunities of how you can deal with light in order to make a nicer space. I think when you are designing, it shouldn't be technology driven. Technology is actually just a tool, and we actually design from a feeling you want to achieve or a kind of atmosphere, and then sometimes you need technology to achieve that, and then you're trying to find out which technology. I mean, we're working now on this chandelier where we're using video technology, combining it with lighting, and then you get a kind of lighting experience which we think is very nice, where we combine these two things. But we're not like starting with technology. That's not the starting point for us. It's just a tool. Yeah, I think it's nice if you, in some projects, you sometimes really would like to have a bit more time, a bit more money to do research and to do bigger mock-ups on site to really show people how light feels and how it works. So having a bit more of a playground, especially in urban space, where you can show people the benefit of doing light in another way, not having to do this lamppost, but maybe lighting up, I don't know, from a building or in a totally different way, which you don't know. Maybe it's a drone that's following you, I don't know. But it would be nice to experiment in that area and have time and money to do so. Well, that's a hard one because we're quite proud of a lot of projects, but I think when 7 years ago we started this office, we got a huge opportunity, which was like, for us, immense, like being in the Champions League and not really being supposed to be there. But we got to do the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, where Philips developed a fixture, and in the end they needed a company or lighting designers to make the final lighting design, so for the exhibitions. So we just stepped into it. We hadn't had much experience with museums yet, so we were like diving onto the internet to get as much knowledge as possible about how far do you put your lamp and what are angles and what do you have to take care of. And what we did there actually is, during the building process, we did a lot of testing on site to get a feeling of how these lamps developed by Philips worked and what the light was coming out and the output and everything, which in the end helped improve actually the fixture, because we managed to change some elements into it. And in the end, we were even asked to do all the aiming of the light. So we spent like weeks and weeks and weeks aiming lights, 3,500 lamps, and also that DALI addressable. And it was the first time they made a kind of interface like an iPad to do the lighting, to dim the lighting. But unfortunately, it took about a minute for each lamp to react, which wasn't very practical in use. So in the end we had to have a guy sitting next to us with a laptop dimming each light. But in the end we managed to do it, and we learned so much from this project, and we were so pleased that we got this opportunity and it worked out well. So I guess because that was like the real starting point of the office, and from there we had loads of opportunities, but we dived into it even though we didn't have much experience on that field. Maybe as a woman or as a mother, I thought it was quite a challenge starting your own company, having little children, and trying to combine these two things and trying to enjoy both of them. It was quite a challenge, and at a certain point after we did the Rijksmuseum we became more and more successful, and then the real challenge was to find people who are really have knowledge or know about the lighting design to join the company. So we had to work really hard, long hours, because we couldn't find anyone. There are not enough lighting designers. So yeah, I think there is space for new lighting designers, and I think education in the Netherlands is quite a thing, because there's not much opportunities to learn about lighting. So often you have to learn just by doing. Maybe there's a minor you can do somewhere. So that is a challenge, finding the right people in a company that has nice projects. Yeah, it was when I started off, Rogier van der Heijden really inspired me to go into lighting, and it was in the 90s. And he created a lot of opportunities to play around with light, and we did loads of mock-ups and models and working with fiber optics and making little models with them. And I learned so much from that, and also aiming lighting in museums. So yeah, I guess that was the most influential moment. What I really like about lighting, it's actually just a small part of a large project usually. So we have a lot of different projects, about 40 or 50 a year, and that each project is so unique and you don't get bored, and I think that is very nice. But also the technology, which is changing continuously. You really have to keep up and keep talking to people and trying things out, and I mean, if you do, like 2 years ago, we did some mock-ups for a museum with a framing projector. And if you see how the development has grown, like in these past 2 years, it's like a totally different picture we are using now than we would have suggested 2 years ago. So yeah, I think that is the interesting thing about lighting design, that there's so much dynamics that keeps you inspired. I guess that women feel less confident of showing their knowledge and stepping in front. I guess because there are not that many women there at the moment, so it's quite a step to be then the one that's in the spotlight, I suppose. And especially if you're going to like a PLDC or something, or presenting a paper there, it can be you're doing it for other professionals, and maybe they feel a bit insecure or about what they're showing. But I think there's loads to show and loads to tell. So I think we can have more women in there. And maybe it should be part of the selection procedure that you have male, female, and then try and get 50-50. Well, I think lighting design is a very dynamic profession. There's loads to learn and loads to do. But I think the most important thing is that you should create a kind of nice environment for yourself in which you have fun, you enjoy what you're doing. I think that's the most important thing, that you really enjoy what you're doing and create maybe projects or an environment where you can do the things you like, if you can, of course. It's quite difficult, but sometimes you have to say goodbye to things that maybe are comfortable and just dive into the deep and search what you really like.